Hi friends, I'm Tammy Kate. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited because we're painting this Christmas wreath, 3/4 or maybe it's a little more than that. We've got some beautiful variations of leaves, we've got some berries, and we've got some tiny little berries here just to accent. So I'm reminding you as we are practicing, it is just about the joy in the journey, not the end result. If yours looks different in the end when you're done painting than mine does, that's okay, because the process is just learning to understand what we're doing and have a good time and not stress out about perfect, not stress out about the end result. So let's get to it. So I just take a normal bowl and place it on my paper here. I am just trying to get it pretty even. And then I'm gonna grab a pencil and I'm going to just lightly outline. Actually, you know what I wanna do? I'm gonna do kind of a, since I'm doing like a 3/4 wreath, we can put the outline there, and then we can take a little bit of an eraser and just decide where we want that split to be. So I'm gonna put it here. You could put it here. You could have it open at the top as well. But if I'm being honest, I just forgot not to go all the way around. So that is what it is. Sometimes that happens. And if you're having a hard time erasing, it might be your eraser. For example, a kneaded eraser is going to do, a better job with this than some of the other ones. So, all right, that'll do. So, and I'm using all the Meeden products today. So I have their water cups. I'm going to spray down my palette. That is theirs as well, the ceramic items. And then their brushes are here. I won't use them all, but just a little. You can see the various sizes that come in the set. And I've got a couple more over here. I've got my paper towel for dabbing and their paper, which is 9x12, which I love. So we're gonna start with our berries today. I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna do this beautiful orangey red color. It's a little pinky there too. Let's just put that on the palette. And this is that more brighter reddish orange color. I love those two. I don't really love one more than the other, but we can kind of just do a little mix and get a nice little Christmas color here. So we're gonna start with our berries, and I like to leave a white space just for a little highlight. Now I'm using the warm colors in this well and the cool colors in here just to preserve my water, because if you mix those two together, you're gonna get some mud, and I'm not really into mud today. Adding in some little lighter berries here. And now we can do some smaller, lighter berries. Over here, some smaller circles, just wherever you think you want them to be. A little random. They don't have to be, at a certain pattern. So just putting a nice little clump there is really pretty. We're gonna do some over on this side as well, some main ones. So I've got that one there. I can even just start dipping into some of my paint and, utilizing that as well. So I do like those dark berries. I think they're really pretty. Just make sure to leave that white space and just makes them shine a little bit. Take off some of the paint here, adding a few other little ones wherever you'd like. And let's do another cluster right here. So again, this is coming together here at a point and being closed in. So, sorry, not being closed in, being open. Sometimes I say the opposite of what I mean. So we'll just do one there and then a little bit less paint just to lighten it up a little bit. So I'm keeping these clumps really kind of that larger space, that larger area. And if you want to do some smaller clumps of berries in other spaces, you can as well. So sometimes you want to just add in a little bit more concentrated paint back in, which you can. I'm not worried about my berries being exactly rounded, and I like it when they're a little bit random. So I think I will wait to add more berries until later. So I want to start with the greenery. I've got some kind of a sappy green mixed up that I already mixed. I added in some red to tone it down. This is a very nice Christmas green in my opinion. And so I want to start with, well, I'm not going to start with that. Sometimes I change my mind. We're gonna start with a bluish green over here. Changed my mind, so I'm adding in some of this teal color, just making this bluer, kind of like that evergreen, beautiful color. And I'm gonna start adding in some leaves. So I'm gonna pull up my sleeves, I'm getting to work here, and we're just gonna do some nice roundy shapes for this beautiful wreath for Navidad, which is Christmas, if you didn't know that. Take off some paint, swipe off the side, add a little bit more there. I like to add the variety. So if our wreath is kind of doing its thing and having sort of direction, I'm going to start putting in our leaves this way, kind of pointing this way and kind of pointing this way. I think that's kind of what I'm going to do. That's usually what I do. They can point in whatever directions you would like, but when you're doing a wreath, you kind of start to think about having a flow where the leaves aren't just poking out everywhere, although you could do that too. I mean, it's art, you know? I always encourage you guys not to worry too much about how you're doing things, but rather enjoying the process of creating your art is so important. And you might have some poking in a few different other spaces, and that's okay. But just trying to find a theme with things, what you feel looks good. So we're gonna go in that same direction this way, kind of that same direction going this way, and adding in. So I do want to add in some pine needles as well. And you can do some smaller leaves as well as some larger ones to just change it up, whatever looks good to you. I love making wreaths. I've done several fall wreaths and now we're doing this Christmas one. And I find them to be so festive. So now you can take this concentrated paint and add in some markings to complement the ones you've already done. Right now I'm just kind of adding them in here and there, and I do want to save some space, you know, for some different shapes of leaves and foliage too. But for right now, just to create some variation, you can even just do like little marks like that, which can be really pretty. Oh, I just want to keep them kind of loose and fun. And I always like adding in the stems because then you can start to get, you know, you can get that personality of those leaves coming through, of the things that you've created. And I'm going to do some little ones here. So just pressing with the belly of the brush, which is creating some cute little leaf marks and shapes. What was that? There we go. So take a deep breath as you're painting with me today. I hope you can remind yourself that this is supposed to be fun and relaxing, and that, you know, you can find some joy and some beauty in this participation, in this experience. Painting for Christmas is just a jolly time, and I want you to enjoy the process, not just the final product of what you create. I want to add just another little darker leaf that pops out over here. And I think that I want to start by, I'm taking a smaller brush. This is about a number 2. I want to start connecting some of these portions together. So I'm grabbing that sap green, a little bit more water, and then we're going to add in some red just to counterbalance. And so red, just a little bit of red, is going to, it's a complementary color of green, a little bit more, oops, either one. And it's going to tone down that green, and it's giving it more of that brownish undertone. So at this point, I'm just kind of going, let's see, that's a little thin. I want it to be a little bit thicker. So if you've gone too dark, you can always grab some more green to lighten it up. So, and this is where we're going to start connecting in the whole wreath shape in general, because we have our wreath that, you could call it a vine or whatever it is, that's creating this whole thing. So I'm just going to do that right now. I'm just using squiggly lines as well. And I like the viney look versus just really stick straight. No pun intended, but seriously, just a little bit of vines coming off of there just to create a nice whimsical wreath. You can just add in some pieces here. So I like to go from larger. Of course, the berries are smaller than the leaves, but the fillers, go in after those main events, which were the berries today. So I've connected some of these. We're going to connect these as well. And some of these you don't really need to connect because they already are. Or they're just really close together to everything that we've painted. But connecting is going to be a good idea. So remind yourself, this is supposed to be fun, people. I hope that you can find ways to relax as you're painting and maybe start to visualize some good memories that you've had of Christmas time, whether it's with family or friends or even on your own, an experience that comes to mind. Just kind of think about what it is when I ask you about that and what made those moments, that memory so powerful for you that's what you're thinking of now. And I'm not talking about anything that was frustrating or hard, but something that was a good positive experience for you. And that's probably what Christmas means, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, your holiday season, what it means to you. Just even having that space to be able to come together with family, even if it's not Christmas or Hanukkah. I'm going to do some tiny little leaves here, and we could even do tiny berry shapes. But I'm using the belly of the brush right now. And so memories are so important. We store our memories as images, not as words. And so we can have many things that trigger those memories. We can have a song, or it could be an experience, it could be a smell, it could be something that you eat, you taste, you try, and you're like, oh, wow, grandma's brownies or whatever it was. And it can take you immediately to that good place that you recall, that you remember. They're powerful, they're meaningful, and we just have to, when we're feeling frustrated and sometimes alone, we have to plug back into what those memories were and what they meant for us. And sometimes we can even recreate those, which gives us a safe space and makes us feel protected and important when we reminisce. Reminiscing is so important for our mental health. So as I'm observing this again, I'm thinking that I actually want to leave things with these shapes and add in a few more versus going ahead and adding in some pine needles. Kind of changed my mind on that. So I'm just going to do a few more leaves and just filling in this space where it makes sense for me. So I'm going to do some larger ones and some smaller ones too, and we'll connect those with stems. Sometimes when you are creating something, you realize mid-creation that maybe the original thought or plan that you have is just not what you want to do. And so you make augmentations. And so I tend to do that somewhat. And I encourage you to do that as well. I'm just going to connect them with this. Nothing special, just a little bit of this color already on my brush. Makes it easy. And so start to look at your composition and see if there's any place in which you need to change something, like add something in if you feel like something is missing. And I'm loving how this is all coming together here. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and do some splatter, so just some nice runny watery paint. And we're just going to put a little bit of splatter on the outside of the wreath, just for some pizzazz, and tapping your brush. And I also want to add in some tiny berries. So I'm just going to grab some really highly concentrated paint here and just do a few little berries around this greenery here. So sometimes I grab the wrong paint. That's fine. It's kind of dry over there. So just, tapping in some little red beads. And you could connect them or not, but they could be floating too. It's not a big deal. This is your art, and you just need to express yourself in the way that makes sense. That's what I always say, and that's what I always mean, but just have fun. So I hope that you can find ways to remember some of the cool memories from past holidays and just really reminisce. It can bring some really beautiful, positive emotions that can help get you through the more difficult times. So the last thing I'm going to do here is just take my green, kind of a sappy green. I've got a mixture of yellowy green and brownish green and a nice bright sap green here. And I've got a very nice pointed brush so I can just kind of add in, I've given this a couple minutes to dry, and I can just add in a few really thin stems just to connect everything together. You don't have to do this, everything can be kind of floating, but I just thought it would be a good idea. Something I wanted to do. And I do want to add a few more little berries. So sometimes it's good to take a pause in your painting and just evaluate where you at. Right here, I need some lovely berries happening. So we're gonna do a little clump of 3. And I think that'll be good. A little bit of green. And if you want to add anything else at this point, it is good to do that. Otherwise, just take a look at your painting. You can grab some more concentrated paint if you want and do what I'm doing. I'm darkening up just some spaces for some shadow texture in these leaves where they already are darker. And so if I have any white on the leaf, I'm going to try not to fill that in because I do like that little highlight there. So just a little extra to create some dimension, and that's it. Okay friends, I really hope you enjoyed painting this Christmas wreath with me. This would make a really great greeting card, or you can frame it for your Christmas decor. I'll see you guys soon on the next tutorial. Take care.